You out there boxing. I need you to start fighting.
When an old friend who was released from years in prison re-enters Creed's life, past events haunt the titular character, and his retirement from the ring, as well as his legacy, might all be on the line. Creed 3 is the 9th overall entry in the Rocky franchise, and the 3rd Creed entry. It's a movie that attempts to mix up the formula slightly with new stylings heavily inspired by modern blockbusters and Japanese anime. The result is that Creed 3 is one of the best Rocky movies thus far and the most entertaining Creed movie thus far. Michael B. Jordan pulls double duty in Creed 3, acting in the titular role and directing the movie, a feat pulled off by Sylvester Stallone several times throughout the franchise. On the acting front, Michael is decent as Creed, showing a lot more of the character's family and business life. He does a good job of portraying a man who has moved on from in-ring action, although some of the dialogue he is saddled with doesn't give him a lot to work with. Plus, it often looks like he forgot to direct himself, with several scenes lacking a certain energy, heart and emotion from him. Additionally, Creed is one of the least interesting and least likeable characters in the movie. In certain regards, he is the antagonist. He is a character who has done wrong in his past but seemingly refuses to admit or acknowledge it. He's a character who has it all: a nice home, a good family, plenty of money and success. Yet the movie fails to give us a reason to care for or about him. He is the powerful one in the movie. He is the one who needs to be taken down a step or two, and yet the movie tries ever so diligently to pretend this isn't the case and often fails to do so. This means that by the end of the movie, there's a lack of inspirational moments, as featured in all the prior Rocky entries, and a somewhat lack of satisfaction because the result is a little on the sour side. His opponent and the antagonist the movie tries to establish is played by Jonathan Majors in a great performance. Jonathan has little to work with, but manages to make Dame highly relatable and likeable in a few early scenes that establish who he is. He is a character who has also done wrong, who has served his time and is on a corrected path. He is the protagonist of a movie, only not this one for some strange reason. As the movie progresses, we see his determination, his desires and motivation. Yes, he does some antagonistic things, especially towards the second half of the movie, but he is far more engaging, likeable and relatable, and most importantly, inspirational than the titular Creed. It's an unusual choice of framing and focus. About halfway through the movie, Dame is firmly set up as the antagonist, and this is where the movie falters slightly. Dame goes from being very likeable, slightly charming, to a straight up comic book villain. The character loses his nuance and depth, and the second half of the movie gives Majors less to work with. It's a little disappointing, even though it's still very entertaining and fun to watch. Tessa Thompson returns as Creed's one-time pop star wife, Bianca. She is the conscience and guidance figure in Creed's life, dishing out advice, but sadly, that's all she does in the movie. She watches Creed from a distance. She provides him with a service and nothing else. It's very disappointing that the fantastic Tessa Thompson is reduced in such a way, especially when there are scenes highlighting what her character is currently going through, as her career is transitioning from performer to producer. These scenes don't go anywhere for her and don't amount to any significant story content beyond highlighting certain themes surrounding Creed and Dame. She's a character purely servicing the needs of the script and nothing else. Behind the camera, Michael B. Jordan is far more formidable. He and his team of filmmakers have imbued Creed 3 with a lot of style and flair, bringing the franchise firmly into the modern era. The boxing scenes now presented up close and personally showcase fast-paced, glamorous choreography. We see the sweat and the sheen of the fighters, the eye lines and the body language. It's a cool new take on the fights, and it adds some unique energy into this long-running franchise. The movie is also very good looking. The use of colour and lighting is fantastic, giving the movie a sheen and cool anime-inspired look mixed with some noir elements too. It's certainly the best looking Rocky and Creed movie to date, and reminiscent a little of the stylish flair that Rocky 3 and 4 added to the franchise. The movie has some use of CGI too, especially in the final fight. The arena of the final fight is presented in an interesting way. The use of lighting and framing tries to enhance its believability, but there are moments when it's clearly fake. There are also some cool elements added into the final fight that set it apart from any fight in the Rocky franchise so far, giving this movie a very distinct personality, one that is very fun and entertaining. One of the weaker parts of the movie is the story and plot. The story and plot tries to set itself in the real world with grounded, believable settings and locations and people. However, the depiction of the larger boxing world is a touch too silly and eye-roll inducing. Dame's rise through the movie is completely ridiculous and unbelievable, not adhering at all to how boxing works, how fights are set up and established, and how champions are forged. Non-fans of boxing won't see an issue here, but anyone in the know may be frustrated by these moments. Overall, Creed 3's style and fun factor win out. The flaws with characters and the story are minor inconveniences, closer to missed opportunities than errors or flaws. Creed 3 is still very good, very well made, and one of the better entries in the long-running franchise. Its second half is a little predictable, with a very standard Rocky Creed finale, but the film's biggest flaw cannot be ignored. Creed is not that good of a protagonist, and this movie struggles to make him come across as a hero, especially when Majors makes Dame so likable early on. Not helping matters is the darker mood and lack of heart. This movie has moved the franchise away from its inspirational roots, and it may take some getting used to if it carries on doing so.